Hollywood, to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX. This is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody clapping out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free at
Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry, No Retreat. And I'm Alan Autry, and I am so honored and humbled, as I always am, to come to you live, and appreciate you so much for tuning in, and especially on Wednesday. Big Wednesday. That's a surfing term, by the way. I was a great surfer back in the day. No, I just flat out lied just now. Never been on a surfboard in my life. It's Big Wednesday because we have Larry Powell with us today. Hey, Larry Powell to the people.
Yeah, great to be with you.
Man, great to have you here, Larry. Your show's going great. Hear a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, very blessed. Powell to the people, where civility is always in style.
Exactly, man. I tell you, getting a lot of views, a lot of shares.
Yeah, that's fun.
You like my social media lingo there?
I do.
I'm catching on advanced stage.
Yeah.
Oh, folks, give peace a chance. You know, that was an old 60s phrase.
Yes, it was.
And it kind of went out of style, unfortunately. Yeah. But give peace a chance, and it looks like that's what's happening over in Ukraine. Now, I'm not one. I've been around the block a few times. I'm not one to get carried away until there's more meat on the bones, the cake is baked a little more, and every other cliche you can come out with. I get it. But it looks like, because of what we heard from Russia, from Sergei Lavrov, or Sergei Lapdog, as the folks in Ukraine like to refer to him as. But either way, you know who I'm talking about. He's top dog, not Putin-esque in his power, but very close to Putin. His number one guy come out and says he sees now a real good chance to have a negotiated solution. What do you think about that, Larry?
Well, if Ukraine will give up everything to Putin, they'll probably get it. It's just, you always pray for peace. And we as Christians have an obligation to do that, to pray for peace. After all, we serve the peace of the King of Peace. So, in Jesus. But it's so disheartening to see what has happened on a border country to Russia, to have done what they've done. Putin, I think, made a huge strategical error by going there. He thought people would lay down arms and join him, and it's not happening. You cannot discount the level of nationalism that exists. No matter how many times we talk globalism, nationalism is still powerful everywhere in the world. Every country has it.
Larry, I go along and agree with you that to a certain degree, and I know you've never said this, but thinking that he's, excuse me, that he's gone nuts. Evil, absolutely.
Yep.
Evil is what evil does. But he's not lost his mind in terms of his strategic ability. I mean, this is the country that took chess to the new level. Boris Spassky, the champion, until Bobby Fischer knocked him off. They're playing chess there, and you're seeing a lot of these things play out now that were first criticized and analyzed as being stupid, the work of a madman who's...
I don't see that.
You don't see that. When you see 100,000 troops massed at the border, he's there for the long haul. He's probably hoping, like you said, let's hope that they just lay down their arms.
Yep.
But we have plan B.
Yeah, they do. It was
And
everything
Plan
he
B,
does is intentional.
Right. Plan B is if they don't, like they did in Syria, they didn't lay down the scorched earth.
Yeah.
So it's not like he put all of his military eggs in one basket.
No.
And we're seeing now, you don't put a 40-mile-long convoy expecting a short, little, quick end to things.
No.
And so I think he knew he was in for a possible long haul. He cut off the access to the Black Sea. The horrible things going to Mariupol there, just bombing the living daylights out of that city and pretty much cutting off the supply lines through the Black Sea, coming up high, methodically moving closer and closer to Kiev.
Yep.
It was 20 miles a week ago. Now it went down to 15. That's 9 miles the other day. Now I think it's down to 4 or 5 miles, surrounding them, shelling them,
Right.
and hopefully breaking down the resolve, not only the Ukrainian people, but the government there. I mean, it is a very solid strategy if you're willing to do the unthinkable, which he did. I was on this show going, I don't think he's going to go in there. There's no way he's going to go in there to Ukraine full force like he did. But
Sure.
he did, Larry.
Yeah, he did. And, he has always been strategic in everything he's done. Unlike us, a lot of times we kind of say, well, I think I'll go this way, or maybe we don't have a philosophy that's real strong behind what we do on foreign policy right now under Biden. I think we have a perhaps policy instead of a foreign policy. And when you don't know what you believe and why you believe it and don't set it out in policy, you're subject to all kinds of things going wrong. And I think we've been seeing that. Biden's jumped in real late.
Well, and Larry, let's face it, folks. Joe Biden is never going to miss a chance to cut and run. He's never been one to stand tall, stand strong, and play it smart in anything to do with confrontation. I mean, you go all the way back. He, with Obama, this just withdrawal from Iraq at warp speed. Very few people question whether we should get out of there, but you do it orderly and
Right.
you protect the folks, and you leave a infrastructure there that has a chance to let democracy, at least a small chance, to survive there.
And all of the people who helped you, your aid, the folks that aided you, you're leaving them subject to terrible
Yes, and here's a guy with the president, Biden and Obama, say, listen to the experts, criticizing the president for, but not listening to the experts. 99% of the generals said, don't do it this way.
Right.
Because something's going to fill that void if you move out fast, and it's probably not going to be good. Well, it did get filled by ISIS.
Yes.
And hundreds of thousands of innocent lives being butchered later. Well, it's the same crew in there, Larry. It's Biden being involved in this thing. General Milley was part of that withdrawal. Lloyd Austin, part of that same, wasn't Secretary of State, but heavily involved in that,
Sure.
advising him to get out of there. Then you see the debacle in Afghanistan. And then you also realize that, and I got to credit Obama and Hillary Clinton for this. When they got the news that they had Osama bin Laden pinned down, they had him zeroed in.
Mm-hmm.
They could take him out. Now, this is the second time that they'd had him. Clinton had him and let him go.
Let him go.
Because he's afraid he was going to tick off the terrorist and let him go. And the lone voice in that administration that was against taking him out was, guess who? Joe Biden.
El Presidente.
Joe Biden. But there's encouraging news. He sent Kamala Harris over there to defuse this situation. The world on the verge of World War III. Who else would you send but Kamala? Well, she went over there and did her thing. And I think we got a clip of Kamala. Now, mind you, the main thing about this whole thing in the Russian mind is the fear of Ukraine joining NATO or the European Union.
Right.
And the European Union has been quick to say, no, that's not in our plans. It's not in our plans. They get that.
And that's a hard line for Putin.
Yes, hard line for Putin.
Yeah.
And it was great to hear Kamala Harris come forth and further assure Putin that Ukraine would not become a member of NATO. Let's roll that, Jose.
Stands firmly with the Ukrainian people in defense of the NATO alliance.
Are you really that stupid?
That wasn't mine. Well, I guess the Ukraine joined NATO, but we just missed it.
Yeah.
Kamala's the only one that got it, and she's there to defend NATO to the last drop of Zelensky's blood, man. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, there are a whole lot of people that are hoping Putin didn't hear that.
Oh, my gosh.
How can, take a seventh grader where, we study, international studies in seventh and eighth grade, and amazing that you would link, the Ukraine with NATO as if they're in it, which is one of the big reasons that Putin is doing what he's doing. He does not want an alliance there.
Right at his border.
And why in the world she would say that? It's a fundamental inability to comprehend international politics and to understand that the words she speaks have greater power than what maybe she intends. And so when you misspeak, it's really mispowered.
There's some, and you're an educator, there's just certain things that are so important, so many events, situations, circumstances. Like you said, when what you say, people are hanging on every word.
They are.
And in certain instances, literally lives are at stake. You have to be prepared. You can't go in there and say, well, I'm going to wing it. I mean, Sean Hannity, bless his heart, I love him, used to just jump around with joy because Donald Trump would go out there without notes and just ramble for 2.5 hours without notes. And he thought that was a great quality. He didn't even need a note to talk about the war over there in Afghanistan or this and that. And 3.5 hours later, 4 tangents later, you're sitting there, please have a prepared statement. Go out there. A teleprompter doesn't mean you're dumb. It means you're smart enough to know your limitations. And she's never had been a believer in prepared statements.
Right.
And that could be catastrophic.
Well, one of the things that you do is you get 3 or 4 main points and you stick to those 3 or 4 main points that you want to get across to the audience that you're speaking to. You can do enthusiastic kinds of things that are non-descriptive in a lot of ways in a speech of saying, hey, Alan, I really want you to be the best you can be and those kind of things. But you can't put facts in enthusiasm together when you're not prepared. When you do, you end up with an absolute mess, and you make the United States look really silly with those kind of statements.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, when you got to break the news to your wife that you can't go on that vacation that she's been looking forward to for 6 months, you better have a prepared statement.
You better.
You go out there and try to wing it, man. It's going to be a health factor for you. But there is good news. There's reason for hope.
Yep.
Gosh, I wish we had a dun 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 dun. We have President Joe Biden's going to go over there to Europe, and he is going to go over there and figure this whole thing out. What could possibly go wrong, Larry?
Boy, that is scary. Let me tell you.
What could possibly go wrong?
They have actually hand digital movements to check for if you're losing your mind. I would like him to take those hand tests.
Could you imagine those sitting down with Zelensky and Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, and saying, "Now here's how you win this war. Here's how you win. You take out all the military before the citizens, just like I did in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
See what I did in Afghanistan? Me and my guys, we got all the military out first. Then you leave the defenseless, unarmed citizens there.
Yeah.
Works every time.
And leave $80 billion worth of equipment.
Well, $80 worth of equipment works every time, Vitaly. I mean, it's so sad. But one good thing, I hate saying this, but I was thinking about it the other night. It's about time, things happen for a reason. What looks like, chaos and everything out of whack and just craziness. It's really God's perfect plan falling in place. Hard to understand sometimes, you bet.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions. In fact, I'm like Mother Teresa. That's the only way I'm like Mother Teresa. She said when she gets to heaven, when she was asked what's the first thing she's going to ask God, she says, I'm going to go up to God and I'm going to say, God, you got a lot of explaining to do. That's going to be one of my questions to him as well. But, this lack of leadership from the United States, the leader of the free world, still the most powerful military on the face of the earth, and still by a frog hair, the most powerful economy, by most still. It's forcing Europe to stand on its own.
Yeah.
Make their own decisions together, because you ain't getting nothing from Kamala except letting Ukraine into NATO. She just said that.
You're going to see Eastern Europe collapse if they are on their own.
Yeah. And maybe this is good for them. They're saying, but saying, hey, you're going to have to defend. Trump had a point when you have to. You got to pony up, man.
Yep.
You've seen now. The unthinkable has happened.
Yeah.
You've seen an old school, old time, traditional, guns blazing, disregard for life invasion.
Yes.
Of one country that you said would never happen again. You're sitting over there in the catbird seat,
right,
over there in France, drinking a little wine, overdiddling your lattes, not worrying about anything. Because why? Because American soldiers are going to protect you if anything happens.
That's right. Yeah. It's just sad. Well,
hopefully, though, Larry, hopefully, and I'm an optimistic guy. Like I said, I made a living in Hollywood for 25 years with this face. I've got to be an eternal optimist. And so I do hold out hope. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening with these Republicans. When there's some Democrats, you bet, because they deserve it, I believe. Kamala, you got to be careful of what you say. Joe Biden's lack of leadership, we're going to see a huge, very glaring lack of leadership from many Republicans as well in this issue. We come back, we're going to talk about, in particular, Mitt Romney. And then not too far down the show here, Larry wants to talk about these interest rates that are looming. We're going to shift gears a little bit because it could have a huge effect on everything in this economy. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat with Larry Powell. We'll be right back. Excuse me. Folks, I don't have a cough button. I wish I did. I sounded like my dad. I'm getting that old man.
Okay, you got to help him out here.
No, I used to have the middle-aged cough.
We do have one, but it will only work for radio.
Yeah.
It does. Oh, it does. Well, that'd be good, though.
Is that the red button?
Is that this one here?
Over there.
The far red?
I'll set it up.
Okay. Have you noticed, though, because I have recordings of me when I was like in my 20s, and I coughed on there. It was nice, young cough. back talking. Then I got one like you get in your 40s. It gets you clear your throats a little more deeper, and then you get it's just the old man.
Doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah. Now, where was I? I used to hear my dad cough like that and think to myself, "No, he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to cough like that."
Are you guys really giving up on Biden going over there? Do you guys really think he's gonna do a worse job than Kamala?
I'm taking Obama's word for it. He says never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to mess things up. So, except he used another word. We don't use it. And by the way, Lane out there, Lane, sorry, from Alabama, my good little sister, sent me an email, said you were sorry about what you said. You don't be sorry. It took me a while to get it. And if that's the worst we get on the show, we're all right. That was funny. Don't you worry about it. And I also got an email. Gosh darn it, I wrote the note down, but it was a very critical email from an individual, a new listener, viewer to the show. You know who you are out there. Saying that I'm just talking Trumpisms and this and that. I appreciate that you sent me that. I disagree on that by saying that my position on the border, that we should have a secure border, that lower taxes are good for families, businesses, and individuals, right to life, that you should have peace through strength, and several things. The thing is, those ideals, those principles, those beliefs, that ideology, whatever you call it, didn't start with Trump. They're basic principles, by and large, embraced by the conservative movement. There's Democrats that believe in that. And when I recite them, it's not that I'm a Trumpster on that. In fact, I've come out and said, I hope he doesn't run. I don't think he did some good things. I think he did. But that time is gone. You don't pull a Tom Brady. Don't come back. Which I want your opinion.
We'll talk about that.
I want your thoughts on that. The psychology of his comeback.
Yep.
Gosh darn it, Larry. I just have so much fun with you.
Listen, I think we ought to talk about the tweet that Kamala did, which was in essence what she said about the Ukraine defense of NATO, it's been deleted from her account.
Okay, we'll get to that. I haven't seen that.
All right, we got 10 seconds.
10 seconds? Somebody called her Cruella Harris. That was horrible.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome back to Alan Autry. No retreat. I always have to say this to my social media viewers it's Tom Jones. It's not unusual. I don't know. Could they hear that? Oh, they did hear that.
Yeah, that's good.
I got a jam. It's like when his mom asked, Elvis, why do you move like that? People are getting angry. They think it's nasty. He said, I don't know, Mama. I just got to jump around when I sing. I just got to jump around when I hear Tom Jones Unusual. I don't care where I'm at. It drives my wife crazy. Okay, Mitt Romney.
Hey, before you go there,
yes, please save me.
Yeah,
I don't want to go to Mitt because I'm just going to hammer the living daylights out of him. I'm going to lay a mitt on Mitt.
Kamala Harris has a social media account for vice president, and she has now deleted that reference of the United States is supporting Ukraine in defense of the NATO alliance. So
she had committed that to tweet?
It was, yes, it was on one of her social media accounts, and it's now been removed.
So she said it?
So she did it
and nobody told her what she had said, and she took the time to go push the buttons.
Yep.
So I guess it was a prepared statement.
Yeah, it was a prepared statement.
What is wrong with the people around this young lady?
Well, you know what?
Lord Almighty.
My dad had a good saying. He said, never hire yes men because all they'll do is get you in trouble.
Well, they got yes women
you're not
around
smart enough to be by yourself. You know, you got to get wise counsel.
Good. And, we know Reagan knew that.
Oh, absolutely.
His deal was get people that are smarter than him.
Exactly.
And he was a smart man.
Yes, he was. And, you know, leaders make good decisions when given good information. But when given no information, they can make bad decisions just like anybody else.
But if you're not a good leader, it doesn't matter what information you got.
No. That's right. Yeah.
Right?
You're right. You're right.
It's, well, listen, goodness gracious, folks, I'm going to call out some people that I have deep respect for in totality. But I wouldn't be genuine here. I wouldn't be telling you the truth. I would be a freaking coward. And insincere. Larry and I were talking before the show. One thing I hate is just hypocrisy.
Yeah.
You say one thing and do another. And we're going to talk about this thing, how you can call Putin a killer. Well, how about the person who supports him, saying we're behind him 100%? Xi Jinping, is he a killer? Or did you call him a killer too? He's deserving of it, correct? No, you won't, because he has $1 trillion of debt, and you want to kiss up to him because he's got more money than Putin. Same thing is, you know, the rich guy can get away with it, but the poor guy will going to, and not that Putin doesn't deserve it. But here's with Mitt Romney. I hate, Larry, when I get going sometimes, I got to stop my voice from going up 3 octaves. I just, you found it. The people on social media are saying it. Jose, man, he's unbelievable. He found the tweet. There it is. Plain as day. But listen, this whole saber rattling, drums of war in a nuclear world, you could talk like that, and it was bad enough pre-nuclear, before Hiroshima, before Nagasaki, and conventional warfare was totally bloody, horrible. Civil War, all they had was the musket balls, the bloodiest war probably ever. But it changed after those bombs fell. And if trying to proceed forward in a post-nuclear world, when we have the ability to blow this entire planet up multiple times over again, and you don't figure that into your calculus in terms of how you proceed, how you interact as countries and leaders, you're absolutely insane. That is a definition of insanity to totally disregard. And I tell you, I got to come to the defense of Tulsi Gabbard, Larry. I don't know where you stand on this. I got a hunch. I want to get your feedback on it. Mitt Romney came out. Do we have that tweet? Because I heard him on, it's up there. Tulsi Gabbard, excuse me. Excuse me, folks. I'm choking on this tweet. Mitt Romney said Tulsi Gabbard is parroting false Russian propaganda. Now listen to this. This is not somebody from Black Lives Matter. This is not from these far left crazy organizations that are just trying to stoke hatred and be hyperbolic on everything. This is from Mitt Romney. Just her treasonous lies may well cost lives. I have pretty much watched every interview that Tulsi Gabbard just to find out if she's real. She's a Democrat from Hawaii, served in the military, Mitt. By the way, how many deferrals did you have? 5 or 6? I'll tell people I didn't want to go to Vietnam. I was scared to death. But you haven't seen. Here's someone who served our military, been in combat, and she simply says we should do everything we can to promote peace in the Ukraine war rather than stoke more violence at this point. And for that, she's called a traitor. Not by the far left squad. They're used to that nonsense. Nancy Pelosi, we're used to that nonsense coming out. We criticize it on this show, Larry. But Mitt Romney, and I'll tell you, I'm going to attach Lindsey Graham to this as well. What the heck are you guys doing? You know, your encouragement, stoking the fires of war, I'm not saying you don't ship the Ukrainian army materials. Yes, you do. Absolutely. But at the same time, you have to be seeking peace with the same rigor, with the same commitment, even more so, to end this war. Because if you prolong it, and especially you give, once the writing is clearly on the wall, and you encourage somebody to try to win an unwinnable war.
Yeah.
We saw what happened in Vietnam. They knew it was unwinnable, Larry.
When they went in.
And certainly a year and a half, LBJ's on tape. What did he do? He escalated. How much napalm can you throw? You just see how many innocent people, kids were killed in Vietnam because we wanted to somehow, some way, North Vietnam was going to give up. And they weren't because they had China in the back. But what do you think about these Republicans who just seem to be frothing at the mouth? It's just like, let's just go in there, guns blazing, and just keep them blazing. It doesn't matter. Fight to the death. Yeah, it's easy to say when you're not in a maternity ward being blown up. You're not in a bunker standing on the bodies of other Ukrainians fighting. It's easy to sit there, go hang in there, and keep fighting.
Yeah. Well, it's disappointing because Romney, I think, loses the moral high ground when he takes this position. You have a right to speak for peace and should speak for peace at all times. But remember, Reagan was peace through strength. And so you always stay strong. And I don't think Gabbard said anything that would diminish the strength side of things. And I think that's what's disappointing when I hear what Romney had to say.
Larry, I've heard this lady. Yep. She prefaces just about every comment about her commitment to that her encouragement that the government seek peace and do everything they can in the back channels, which we've not. We talked about earlier in the show. There should be a special envoy sent there to China. We know who's the puppeteer and who's the puppet.
Right.
Puppeteer is Xi Jinping. In fact, they just Prime Minister of Russia. Yes, they have a prime minister. Just announced that a $9 billion deal, which is a lot of rubles, to create a different supply chain. Now, that is very scary. That means, and they're talking about Saudi Arabia of paying for oil in China with the Chinese currency, not the petrodollar. The United States dollar is the world currency.
Right.
If that goes away, you're going to see an entire seismic economic disaster coming. But I got to take up for this lady. And just for that, Larry, you and I just sitting here are tools of Putin. If you listen to the media.
Yeah.
And in some degrees, Fox News, for simply backing up and saying, hey, Mitt, don't demonize a woman. You're way out of line. Actually listen to what she said. Don't let your handlers tell you what she said. Anyway, final thoughts on that, Larry?
Romney and some of his representatives did not respond when asked to go further. So I think sometimes, Dad always had a good saying. He said, "Think before you speak." And it's interesting.
He's like that, Larry. I know Mitt Romney. I got to know Mitt Romney.
Shoot from the lip,
I got to know him fairly well. Mayor Reardon and him were good friends, and we went down and spent quite a bit of time with Mitt Romney. And he's a very thoughtful man.
Yep.
That's why I find this so astounding that he would use that kind of incendiary language towards a fellow American who's simply and call it treasonous. It's just, anyway, it's just
pretty silly.
Yeah. Okay. Larry, we want to talk about the crime here in locally, but I want to go to those interest rates here. I don't even want to take a break. I want to shift this gears over here and tell me what you've heard and researched on where we're going, where the Fed's
looks like
going
about every 2 months, we're going to get a 0.25% increase in interest rates, and that's an attempt to stop inflation and to avoid stagflation. And for those who don't remember, stagflation happened the last time in the United States in the 1970s, and basically it's when there's no growth but high prices. And now,
I used to think it went to a party alone.
Yeah, stag, baby.
Gosh, I'm off base.
Really. So interesting, because as long as employment is high, you can handle inflation. When employment goes down, you can't handle high prices and growth.
Have no money.
Yeah, there's nothing circulating. So the whole idea is over the next, I would say, 2 years, and I think they're already the Fed is already behind the 8 ball. They should have started the 0.25% interest increases probably, I'd say 6-8 months ago, when we saw wood for a 2x4 go from $2.14 to $10, $12, that kind of thing. We probably
like overnight.
Bam. Just instantly. We should have done something then, but we didn't. It resulted in us paying enormous amounts of money, trillions of dollars, out to everybody to get through this crazy pandemic time, which I understand some of why they did that, but at the same time, it caused inflation to just start going crazy. So you got to avoid stagflation. Stagflation kills the economy, kills everybody.
It's like going from a cold to a bad flu. Or COVID.
Yeah,
Cash
becomes nothing.
Jose, if we had a chance, if you can find that Biden clip of telling us that inflation is not caused by surplus money supply. Now I think we have that. I referenced this book a lot. I did yesterday probably 3 times. I'm going to do it again, folks. Order it online. Order. Go from Amazon, the company, not the forest. Go on air and order Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. There's not a graph in it. The reason there's not a graph in it, Thomas Sowell said, I wanted people to read it. And it just breaks things down, basic economics. And talking about inflation and how a too much money in a system chasing too few goods, you're going to have inflation, inflated prices. That's exactly what's happening now. It goes against any analysis from any economist, right, left, in the middle, to say that it has no effect. And the administration is trumpeting and parroting this little catchphrase, the Putin price hike, is what's happening at the gas station. Inflation and gas prices were going up way before the Ukraine happened. It was on its way. In fact, the first COVID bill, we saw an increase in inflation when you pump that much money. And they said, well, we didn't pump it all. And you're talking about $300-400 billion right off the bat that went in with stimulus funds. And that's more money in there. And again, if you have something, and I use this analogy with my son. My mother saved my Nolan Ryan rookie card. And a lot of parents threw those cards out when the kids went off to college and everything. And that card, cost 5-cent package back in the day. And now it's the card we have was appraised at almost $3,000. Now, I tried to tell my son, he goes, this is crazy, Dad, why is this? I said, because if there's only so many of those out there. If there was millions of Nolan Ryan rookie cards, it would not be worth, trust me, $3,000. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with money. We got that by. Let's play this clip here, and then I want to make a statement on the interest rates and just go ahead.
Let's be absolutely clear about why prices are high now. They're high for 2 reasons.
One was COVID. The way the global economy works, if a factory in Taiwan that makes computer chips shuts down due to a COVID outbreak, it causes a ripple effect to slow down auto manufacturing in Detroit, literally, not figuratively. Because of the pandemic, we had significant disruptions in the supply chain. Our supply chain is so important with so many materials that come from other places. At the same time, because the rescue plan boosted the...
Do we have that shorter clip, Jose?
Americans had more money in their pockets. During the pandemic, they wanted to spend that money not on vacations because of COVID.
Okay, we'll cut that one. We'll find the other one. We have two clips there, and we just got in the other clip. He flat out said that inflation is not caused by excessive government spending, and he's right on here about the COVID. But it was the stimulus bill. And I told on this show, I said, this is going to be the most expensive stimulus bill money you ever got. They're going to get it.
Well, money costs money.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so you say, well, why is the Fed raising interest rates? Well, in order to reduce the money supply, you have to take that money out. So how do you do that? You raise taxes one way to get the money out. They literally get it out and burn it. Back in the old days, they would just take paper and burn it. The other is interest rates of what the Fed charges banks, and the banks pass that interest rate. In this case, it's a quarter point. And what that does is take that money, that interest rate you're paying more, that's going to go to the bank. The banks will pay back the Fed. The Fed will take that money and basically burn the money. So you go the process, and it's a very painful process of extracting that money out of the economy, so you have less around. Okay, we got the clip now. Jose's got it.
Look at this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true.
When we're having this discussion, it's important to dispel some of those who say, well, it's the government spending. No, it isn't. The government spending is doing the exact reverse, reducing the national debt. It is not inflationary.
Okay. Folks, what?
I'm aghast.
Well, Larry, folks, radio, online, what am I supposed to do when I hear that? If I have a show like this, I put my butt here. I got myself canceled out of the movie business because I went after China. I get in here. I just had to call in to get on here for whatever it was worth. People tune me in, tune me out. Felt to call in to just put forth my feelings on things, hear your feelings on things, and just discuss it in a grown-up fashion, have some fun doing it. But you say I get on Pelosi and Biden and Kamala Harris, and I just got through with skewering Mitt Romney and Lindsey Graham and some other Republicans, and my friend Sean Hannity. For just go in there, gun blazing, don't look for peace. What am I supposed to do with that? When you have the number one individual, our president, and the number three in line, Nancy Pelosi, who you just heard, is number three to the presidency. Something happens to Joe and Kamala. That individual you just heard. And Larry, here's my question. And you've seen it, and I think I can kind of what you're going to say here. I think a lot of you, we've seen people like this. We've had them in our family. We have friends. We've been around them that have lied so much for so long. They're so comfortable in it, it becomes part of their personality. Lying, I've said in terms of the WFL, the woke far left, just read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Lying is not something that they're ashamed of.
No.
It's not something, they don't look at it as a character flaw or something to be, to not be appreciated. They look at it as a necessary tool to get what they want done. The ends justify the means. So I asked this rhetorical question, and get your feedback on it. How in the world can they just look right into the face of Americans and bald-face lie like we just heard our president and the Speaker of the House? Do they think we're that stupid? What kind of fools do they think we are?
Well, when you don't have a moral center to begin with or an ethical position from which you operate, it's easy to get into the weeds. And the weeds are where they grow high and produce nothing. So it's not like grass that you grow in your yard. Weeds grow very, very quickly. They hide stuff. People can hide in the weeds. But what happens is...
Well, we got to get us some Roundup.
We do. It's called inculcation. I
don't care if it does cause cancer.
Yeah, it's called inculcation. And it means if you hear something often enough, it diminishes the truth of something. So what their whole goal is, and Alinsky did come up with this, you just keep saying it.
Hoping to inculcate the populace?
Absolutely. And so it diminishes your ability to think it's not true. So if you hear it often enough, you just either ignore it or you say, okay, it must be true because they're saying it all the time.
You know, Larry, again, Thomas Sowell addressed that same, much in the same way, just phrased it a little different. He says some statements are accepted as truth because they can be demonstrably proven to be true.
Right.
Other statements are accepted as true because they've just been repeated so often.
Correct.
As you said,
that's
people become in. Yep. Good word, folks. I'm going to take that into my being, into my little brain. I only have a little bit of room left in there. I got a big fat buffalo head, but very, very small space for knowledge. But I'm gonna cram that in there because that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
They believe in this inculcation. They believe they repeat. America's a systemically racist nation, and now you're seeing why they being in this woke far left movement that's been around for a long time are really pushing back against people like Ron DeSantis, who says we shouldn't be teaching sex to kindergartners, first graders, and second graders. We shouldn't even be and put a bill forth to that. It's like they stick the hand in a fire, man. These folks are coming at them left and right. DeSantis, call them, you hate gay people, the gay bill, this and that's not that at all.
Not at all.
He's just saying it's young, and you see because this inculcation. If you can get them early, the old Nazi formula, the old communist formula, you get these kids early, you start, feeding this poison to them, because they have them, schools have them 75% of the time.
The best example to show that is if you're over 40, you probably have a tougher time with technology, okay? If you're over 60, you have a really tougher time. But if you're under 10, you can manipulate technology. And so what you grow up with and hear often enough becomes a part of who you are.
That's
and
scary.
There is no thought process for my grandkids about technology, good or bad. All they know is how to do it. And then we have dinosaurs, and that's those of us 60 and older who have no clue on technology and have to get a 10-year-old to fix our computers for us. It's crazy.
60 years old. I used to say
I didn't mean to bring that up, Alan.
I used to say I was pushing 60. Now I'm dragging it. Okay. Hey, let's go to Lynn Holt on the line, Alabama. Lynn, how you doing? Lynn? Lynn, are you there? Oh, Jose coming. Okay, we got it. Oh, I got to learn to do that. I mash that button, I can get Lynn on here quicker. Jose didn't have to run in. Lynn, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, how you doing, girl?
I'm doing good.
Thanks.
How's my favorite brother doing?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for the laugh yesterday.
No.
What's on your mind?
Well, there's so much hatred in the world right now, and I just don't understand it. It puts me in the mind of Matthew 5:43 through 44, which says, "You've heard it said, love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you."
Oh, you're just a tool for Putin.
Well,
that's what people would say.
I don't hate the man. I hate what he's doing, but I don't hate him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In the world we're living in, the hyper politicized world, it's a zero sum game. If he has no soul, it's you better say he doesn't have a soul. Yeah, he's got a soul. Soul's dark
He
right now.
does.
And you're praying.
God could save him just as well as he can anybody else. Yeah. Look what he did for the thief hanging beside him on the cross.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I tell you, I'm glad you brought that up. As who needs our prayers as much as anyone is the guy who's causing this carnage. Yep. You know, I have a feeling, not getting too deep into Scripture, Larry, but Lynn, I believe that Christians were really praying for Paul when he was the Pharisee going crazy and going after Christians, imprisoning them, stoning them. I just think Stephen looked at Paul, and I kind of think he was praying for Paul during that time. Those prayers were, no doubt.
Yeah, and look how God got Paul's attention.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And, you know, after 9/11, the church buildings were packed full. And why not today? If ever we need to gather together as God's family, it's now.
Absolutely, Lynn. Thank you so much for that. We got Laura. I want to get her on the show here too. Lynn, thank you. Thank you for being a regular caller, because we always feel better after you get on the line. You just have that way.
She does.
It's your voice.
And another
right
thing, I think you would make a wonderful minister.
Oh, I can't dodge lightning bolts fast enough. When I was younger,
I think you would.
Well, I could head fake a little bit quicker back in the day, but I'd be a sitting duck for that lightning bolt now. But Lynn,
oh, come on now.
Thank you.
No ministers are perfect, but I think you would make a great one.
Well, thank you. I'm humbled you'd say so, Lynn. Thank you so much. God bless, and we'll talk again real soon, dear.
All right, love you.
Love you too. Let's go to Laura. Laura, you there? Laura Fisher. Laura.
Alan Autry.
Laura Fisher. How you doing, girl? What?
Well, all I have to say is that if I do start my day drinking and I ever call in and I sound like Nancy Pelosi, I'd like you to call 911 and have the police sent to my home.
That's in Florida, folks. So.
It's hard.
Because I will need to be Baker acted if I ever start to sound like that little day drinking woman.
Well, the thing is, you get there and I know there's something in what she's saying that I can criticize, but I can't figure it out. It makes no sense
Alan,
even to be able to criticize. I just sit there with my mouth open. I said, what'd she just say? I said something good. I'd call. I'd say, hey, way to go, Nancy.
Well, when Nancy speaks, we're confused on a higher plane.
Yes.
So.
she's anointed. I'm just way below her in intellect. That must be. Hey, you excuse me. You said this hacking group Anonymous.
Anonymous.
Dad, burn it. That's what Hoss Cartwright used to say. Dad, burn it, Paul. He said this hacking group Anonymous erased a database, a petro company in Russia. What's that all?
Yeah, Anonymous and NB65 hacking groups have erased all of the data from Gazprom, which is the largest oil company in Russia.
Wow.
Yes, but now not before they snatched all the data, and don't you know I'm getting it. They also
keep your head on a swivel,
cleaned out the entire Ministry of the Interior, which controls their imports and exports.
Oh, my goodness. Don't you know that Putin's out there going, I want Anonymous known now, comrades. Find them. Don't you know they have a bounty on their heads? My goodness.
They shut RT television down for 5 days.
Well, these dudes are good, aren't they? Or dudettes.
I happen to have a friend that's in NB65.
Am I misogynist for always thinking, when I think of these hackers, I think of in their underwear, in the basement or in their bedroom, just these brilliant guys, probably with a bag of Fritos and some Diet Coke there, just breaking into things. It could be women. It could be women out there that are.
Well, I sit around in my pajamas and my day drinking robe and eat Doritos and drink sweet tea and Junior Mints and do the same thing.
That's an unfair comparison. You're not a hacker. You go after the Freedom of Information Act. Just do your research. Oh, jeez. Okay. Now you
don't know what I do, Alan.
Well, just be careful. I don't know if you saw the news today, but the lady that criticized, the model that criticized Putin, they found her in a suitcase. Yeah, but this is how the press is. Here's how the media. One woman who criticized Putin, model who criticized Putin, found in suitcase. Well, you read the article and you find that her boyfriend has already confessed, told him everything about it, of the murder. I mean, it's grisly. You don't want to make light of it, because she has a family as well, unless somebody lost a daughter there. But just to show you how, they want to sensationalize everything. So, yeah, this Anonymous, there's something else. I keep hearing about them.
They're very good.
Let me ask you this, Laura. What do you think their goals are? Are they working for someone specifically? Who's funding them, do you think? Give me a little rundown.
No, they don't. No, they don't work for anyone. They don't work for anyone. They do what they believe is morally right. And they have a network that's worldwide. There are literally thousands of them. They don't intercommunicate in large groups. They do in small cells. And they collectively make a decision. I mean, it may not be all of them going after Putin. It may only be a handful of them going after Putin. I don't know how many of them there are, but I know they've given information to Homeland Security. They've given information to the FBI. They have done a lot of really good work. And some of the stuff that I get from them. And I get from NB65 and a couple of the other hacking groups. There are sites that you can go to and message boards and so forth that you can communicate with people, and that's what I've done. That's how I've sourced some of the
Larry,
stuff that I've sourced.
excuse me, Larry, Laura, why does part of me say, way to go, Anonymous, you are the best? Another part of me is saying, sooner or later, Xi Jinping's going to find out who they are. He's going to write them a real fat check, and we won't, Anonymous will be yesterday's news. Am I getting real cynical?
They believe in democracy. They're very anti-China.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm cynical.
As a matter of fact, NB65 is so anti-China. They actually, I got some information from them regarding what's going on over in the Congo with China. Africa is turning on China, and I've been getting some data out of NB65 about how they've suspended their activity with 6 cobalt mines. I wonder if Joe Biden's at ease with that, because his cobalt mine is now being suspended.
At ease, yeah. We did a show yesterday, Larry, on how the New York Times on how at ease Joe is, and we should be comforted how at ease that he can just sit there and get his reports on Kiev being under attack, lick his ice cream, not seem to be ruffled at all. What cool leadership we have in more than one way.
It's pretty scary.
Oh, my God.
I want to give everybody a new word for the day. It's called
inculcation.
This is a different one. It's called traduced. And that's when you speak badly of someone through lying about them in order to damage their reputation. So you traduce them.
So kind of kissing cousins to seduce.
Yes.
But you're traduced again. What's the definition?
So you're using your words through lying about someone to damage their reputation. So, and that's typically what happens from Pelosi and from Biden. They say things, almost always start out with some kind of disclaimer, but they start out with something that puts anybody down who doesn't believe what they believe. So they traduce them to begin with.
Good traducing looking sucker. Traducing. I like that. I like that word. I like words that say what it means. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it. You don't want to be traduced.
No, you don't.
And you don't want to be a traducer. You don't want to be a traducer.
You want to be a producer.
Because you got to answer the good Lord. And he's going to ask you, you were traducing. I told you not to traduce. And now you got to answer for it.
That's it.
Folks, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you so much. Larry Powell, just a chunk of heaven to have you here
on
Wednesdays.
Enjoy it.
God bless you, folks. Go out and do something fun. Go see a movie. Go watch it. It's on
Elvis.
It's on Tubi. Victory by Submission. Free service. Go to it. Victory by Submission. You won't be disappointed. God bless. Love you. God bless your families. God bless America. And good Lord willing, creek don't rise. We'll get a chance to do it again tomorrow. Bye-bye now.